friends. Hey, Chris Kelly here. Late in the week, time to dive into some stats here in Portland Metro. And once a month, our MLS system, our MLS board, puts out a market action report. It's a monthly summary of what's going on for activity, and it's a nice deeper dive into what I do weekly. So we'll start with what I do, and I want to have a bit of a perspective today. So I've taken the time to pull out some data from 10 years ago, and I think it's insightful. I think it's instructive. I think it's telling. So anyway, let's start with what's going on now. So I will minimize me. There we go. That you can kind of see what's happened over the week. So a lot of things closed versus the prior weeks. We're finally getting some higher closing numbers. I've talked about this in past weeks. It's been oddly low, which suggested a lot of failed sales. Also just could be delayed sales. A lot of times what happens too is they're failed sales and they resell. The deal dies, goes back to market, gets into contract again, and some of that may be coming to fruition. The other thing too is simply there's more inventory. So there's more listing activity as evidenced right here. Not dramatically over the last week, but I would say over the period of weeks, that number has overall been going up. Pending sales are up a bit as well. So I would say, but if you look at, this time last year versus this week, we're pretty consistent. And so, all in all, I would say it's flat and maybe a slight increase in activity where units are concerned. Market time, very consistent with this time last year. We're a little higher than we were in 2023. And of course, we're a lot higher than we were. We're still in that first half of 2022 where the market was still going nuts. But, if you look at an average sales price came down a decent bit this last week, but median didn't. So again, these numbers largely just kind of, it's kind of like current in a river. I mean, they just kind of ebb and flow, and sometimes they're up a bit, sometimes they're down a bit, but nothing dramatic. I mean, there has just been nothing dramatic going on, and I like that. I'm a big fan of stability, and really the market's been largely doing just that. I just looked at another report somebody sent me just minutes ago on X or Twitter or whatever, and it was talking about the biggest declining markets. And it was funny, in the United States, and it was a national listing, and Portland was in there. But when you looked at the data, we were off, like it says we were off 0.3%, or we had increased 0.3%. So flat is what I'm getting at. So I don't look at that as a decline. That's literally flat by the statistics. So anyway, I thought that was interesting. So I am going to minimize me, and I'm going to shift over here to inventory in months. So we'll look at some of the market action data, the monthly data. And interestingly, inventory went up, but only a tenth. 3 months, and this is inventory in months. In other words, if no new listings came to market at the pace of sales, how long would it take to sell all the inventory? That's what this chart measures. And that really measures a velocity or speed of the market. So the market's inventory has come up a little bit. And really, I'll show you in a minute what that means. It feels like there's more inventory than that, and that number would have went up even higher, but I'll show you why. In fact, we'll just do it now. So this is a great chart. This shows really good activity for a given month versus the prior month, but I like the year-to-date to year-to-date stuff the best, and the changes. So you can see that we basically have 6.5% more inventory year-to-date than we did last year by this time. You can see that, pending sales, very flat. Closed sales were actually up a little bit from this time last year. And this is the one that gets my attention. The average and median sales price says they're up 2.1%. Now that's year to date, January through May of 24 versus January to May of this year. So, but again, that's that slight raise I'm talking about. It's just barely better than last year. That's pretty acceptable in my book. Total market time, it says we're up 11.8%. Well, let's go and actually look at the number. Year-to-date market time this last year was 66 days. We're 73, it says. Now, mind you, this data looks different than mine. And the reason for that is the RMLS or their data is including some things that I don't include. I don't include plexes. I don't include land. I really only include residential stuff. So when you take those things out of the equation, the actual market time comes down a little bit, and that's the difference, really. But my point is it's moved 7 days, even by this data, not terribly significant. This I thought was probably the most interesting of all. So I went ahead and pulled up market action 2015 of May of 2015. So 10 years ago, exactly. Interestingly, I'm going to make this a little larger. There we go. Interestingly, the inventory in months chart, that we've been using for a very long time, it was pretty fast. I mean, the market was moving at a good pace, but this 2015 was a hot market by all metrics. Look at 2013 and 14. We had just come out of the Great Recession market, and you can see in the market time, you can see it gradually coming down, right? But you can see here that market times were at high 2s, low 3s, and even into the high 3s and low 4s for time on the market. I went back and looked at this stuff for 30 years. Earlier today. And I mean, there were times during the recession when this number was 19. And that was pretty interesting. But, you look at that data versus our current data, I mean, really the pace of the market and inventory levels in the market aren't terribly different than they were 10 years ago by that metric. And this is even better when you scroll down to that chart. Which is basically the 10 years ago version of the chart that I just showed you guys. Look at year-to-date numbers. I mean, there was definitely more going on in terms of total listings taken. There's just more activity. I mean, if you look at, there was 10,000 listings year-to-date this year, and 7,000 pending, and 6,300, closed versus 17, 14, and 11. Definitely more going on. But look at the market time. Damn near identical. So, I mean, the pace of the market is very consistent right now with what it was 10 years ago in what we all considered in 2015 a robust market. So these are actual data numbers from our actual marketplace. And if you look at, oh my goodness, where's it at? Average. So year-to-date change in median, so sales price was moving up at a faster pace right then. We were on the front end. 2014, 2015 was really when the market, was really 2013, it started showing signs of taking off, but we were moving up at a pretty good clip. Median sales price year-to-date versus year-to-date prior was up almost 6%. And these numbers in 2020, 2021 were double digits. They were 14 and 15%. That's when interest rates were 2.75 and the market was appreciating it just at a stupid pace. So we have a really, all that to say, we have a really great set of ingredients when you stop and think about it. Anybody that is actively in the market right now, not just casually reading a national headline or some regurgitated news article, anybody that's actually in the market trying to be a seller or trying to be a buyer, especially if you're trying to be a buyer of a 3-bed, 2-bath ranch in a good area in Portland Metro, you guys know that the good stuff is selling. It's selling fast, and more often than not, it's selling for overlist. So there is absolutely that happening. We have multiple clients experiencing the frustration of that on the buy side right now. And certainly we've had some seller clients experiencing big smiles over the results of that. So, but I also have clients that just nothing's happening, nothing on the selling side. And that's challenging. It just depends on how niche the real estate product is. We have a really small condo in a really awesome part of inner Portland, and I mean crickets. And it's a decent price, I think, but I have a feeling that it's going to end up selling no better than where they bought it. So it isn't all roses all the time. It really does depend. But all in all, I would say this. We have a really good and really stable set of market ingredients. So interest rates are, that's one thing I didn't do. I'm going to make it a point next week to pull up some historical interest rate data. What was the interest rates doing in 2015? If I remember correctly, they were in the mid fives to high fives and even low sixes. So not terribly off of where we are now. I could be wrong, and I will admit it if I am. Between now and next week, I will pull that information, but I'm pretty sure that's where it was. My point is this. Look, if you're wanting to sell what you have and get to where you want to be, it is a good, stable market to be doing that. It's more important than ever to listen to good advice. If you have an agent helping you, listen to him or her. If it's us, listen to us. And if you get good advice and you do the right things, you'll have really good success in the market that we're in right now. So anyway, I just thought it was good information to share. I really like kind of doing these little history peeks from time to time and looking back and seeing what happened. It really helps. Oftentimes it helps put things into perspective in a very encouraging way. And that's exactly what this did for me today. And I hope it has done that for you. I'll include that graphic in what I post here so you can take a peek at it. If you have questions and want to chat about it, I'm happy to do it. I love talking about this stuff, as you might imagine or might have guessed. And obviously, if there's something going on and you have a set of circumstances or you have a friend or family member who does, and they need to chat, let's get them in touch with us. Let's talk about it. We're happy to help them too. So anyway, I'm going to get out of here and enjoy the spectacular weather that we're having right now. So anyway, I hope you and yours are well. And as I always say, until the next time.